Hey YouTube, Ben the Bondsman here, and this is part of the Life of a Bondsman series. Well, one of my frequent questions is, how does the bonding process work? It's pretty simple actually. Somebody gets arrested, they get pulled over, and let's just use a DUI for an example. In Mississippi, that's driving under the influence of alcohol or medication or anything that can chemically influence you. Um, so the police officer is putting you in handcuffs, and he takes you down to the local jail. Well, then you would call me, or a family member that would call me and say, hey, I need to get out of jail. And I would gather some pertinent information like, where are you from? Do you have a job? How much is your bond? What are you charged with? Do you own property? Do you basically, are you a reasonably responsible person that just made a mistake? Or are you some idiot that I'm going to have to be chasing because your life is a series of mistakes that all culminated into a prison sentence? These are all factors that, have you ever been arrested before? Do you have family here? Do you have kids? Do you have ties to this community that will keep you here? Or when you bail out of jail, are you gonna haul butt because there's nothing keeping you here and no reason for you to come back? Or if you live out of state, do you have family out of state that will sign for you, that will make darn sure that you come back for court? All right, so that's just a part of the screening process while we're talking to you on the phone. Once we've decided that, okay, this person is a reasonable risk, every bond's a risk. There's no such thing as a foolproof bond. We go down to the police station and we charge you 10% if you're from Mississippi and 15% if you're from outside of Mississippi. So you got a DUI. Let's say your bond's $1,000, just to use even numbers. So I would charge you $100 for the bond premium and $50 for the processing fee. And some jails have a $25 or $26 turnkey fee that would have to be charged on top of that would go directly to the jail. So in the state of Mississippi, it doesn't matter if your bond is $400 or $1,000. The minimum that we charge is $100 premium plus $50 plus any turnkey that goes to the jail. So you're looking at a minimum of $150 to bond out, $175 if I got to pay a turnkey to the jail. So I go down there and I charge my $150. And once that person hands that $150 to me, that's done. You don't get that back. It's non-refundable. Don't matter if you were guilty, innocent, found not guilty by a jury. It doesn't matter. That money is like paying a vehicle insurance premium. Whether you have a wreck or not, you still had to pay for the insurance. And that's what we do. We're an insurance policy for that $1,000. Because if you don't go to court, we have to pay the court system that $1,000. So, and that's why most of us secure a indemnifier, which a lot of people are more familiar with the term cosigner, but they're two different things legally. We get a family member to sign on the bond saying, okay, if little Johnny doesn't show up for court, then I will either help you find little Johnny so you don't have to pay the bond, or I will pay the $1,000 to the bonding company, so the bonding company can in turn pay it to the court system. And I also often get asked the question, do you get that money back? Yes, in Mississippi, we have a year and a half from the time that a certain document is issued. That's getting kind of technically into it. It's called a final judgment. From the time the final judgment is issued, we have 18 months to put that person back in jail and get our money back. Now, if that money came from a cosigner or indemnifier, then we give the money back to the cosigner once we get it back from the courts. But that $150 never, ever, ever, for any reason, gets refunded, nor are we obligated to refund that money. Now, say we got little Johnny out for his DUI, and he seemed like he was pretty safe bond at the time, and then we get information from little Johnny's girlfriend that, well, he's about to move to Alaska to be a fisherman on a boat. Well, little Johnny didn't call us and tell us that, and he's moving to Alaska because he don't want to face the music on this DUI. Well, we're going to go scoop him up and put him back in jail. In Mississippi, we can put a defendant back in jail at any time for any reason we deem necessary. We do not have any restrictions on whether or not we put somebody back in jail. Just like your automobile insurance can drop you like a hot rock the minute they feel like you are too much of a risk, we can do the same thing with less restrictions. Now, not all of us exercise that authority freely. Some bonding companies put surrendering somebody, is what it's called, surrendering somebody very seriously, and it takes a lot to make that company do that. Some companies aren't as upstanding, I guess you can say, and basically once they have the money that they collected, at that point, any little excuse that they can sleep with at night for putting somebody back in jail, they'll do it. And some of them are just unscrupulous and don't care. Once they have your money, next time they see you walking through Walmart, they'll put you back in jail just because. Because what happens when we put somebody back in jail, that original $1,000 is no longer an issue. Once I put somebody back in the custody of the court system that I wrote the bond for, I'm no longer liable for that $1,000 bond, and neither is the indemnifier. We're free and clear at that point. So I've got my $150, and the person's back in jail, and no more money exchanges hands. It takes all risk out of the bond. So that's how it works in a nutshell. We from the time somebody gets arrested, we're responsible for that person as a bondsman until that person completely clears court. You know, that means they went to all their court dates and they pled guilty or not guilty and went through the trial process. You know, they went to court, pled not guilty, got rescheduled, went to court, it got postponed, went to court again, until either there's a guilty plea or not, or a guilty, the person's found guilty, or they're found innocent, or whatever the case is, until that person's either sentenced or the case is dismissed. We, as a bondsman, we are on the hook for that person for at least 3 years. Now, after 3 years after we write the bond expires. It just dies. You know, if somebody comes up on the in the court system more than 3 years after they bonded out, and they don't show up for court, well, that's tough cookies because I'm not responsible for them anymore. And 5 years for a federal bond. So that's I hope that explains it a little bit. It can be a very interesting business. Sometimes a bond can start early in the morning and end very late at night. Sometimes it takes days, weeks, or even months before we're able to get the person out of jail, depending on the circumstances. I worked on a bond for probably 4 days, and I got home last night. I'd been up for a long time, and I was ready to go to bed. My phone rang, and the person I'd been working on, their indemnifier, the person that was going to pay me the money, said, "Okay, we've got the money together. I'm going to meet you down at the jail." I drove almost an hour and a half to the jail just to sit there and figure out, wow, this person stood me up. Whether they got him out or not, I don't know. But I told her, I said, I'm not coming back to this jail. You either show up tonight or you're going to have to find another bondsman. At that point, I was very frustrated, very fed up with that particular person. So here I am now. Today's been another very long day. It is 3:21 a.m. and I have not even finished my paperwork. So I'll have to come in tomorrow and finish all the paperwork up and get everything put in the system. Drink lots more of that, and put in another long day tomorrow. That's the typical life of a bondsman. Long hours, aggravating people, but decent money. So, who can complain? Anyway, that's all for now. Ben the Bondsman, signing out.